But the top of the East is that's a gauntlet. That is a gauntlet.
It is, and I'm not. I find it like one of the more interesting playoffs only because like Philadelphia gets Joel Embiid back, and you're like, well, yeah, but how does anybody have an answer for him? Like when he's playing like he does when he's healthy and he's at an MVP level. Every one of these teams poses real questions that the other ones will struggle to answer, and it's going to be fascinating to see how that shakes out in the postseason.
Yes, let's just jump right into it then. In the postseason, you're looking at the playoff race. Who's at the top of the East for you? Who's the best team on paper?
It's still Brooklyn. It's still talent wins in the NBA ultimately, right? Like you've got to be a team and you've got to coach, but your San Antonio Spurs won a lot but they won as a team, right? They won as a great unit. By the way, it's Tony Parker.
I mean, they had Tony, Manu, Tim. You have 3 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and you're David Robinson. I mean, there was just talent, so much talent through that whole thing. Talent wins out. Brooklyn has the most to me. Just at the end of the day, I'm picking If I had to pick one right now, I'd pick Brooklyn, even with all the questions about chemistry, because there's just so much talent. I think they're going to be able to figure out at a higher level. The questions are out there, but if I had to pick one, I think the other team that we talked about them, I think Milwaukee's interesting. I don't trust them enough to have picked them yet, but just Drew Holiday just makes them a better playoff team. And maybe this thing, they do defend, they do a lot of things. Maybe they are switching more on defense this year. Let's put it this way. They've locked their big 3 in now. If it doesn't come together for them, they can't blame the players. So Coach Bud, that seat could get warm, and that's not necessarily fair to him.
Yeah, Milwaukee is an interesting, like you said, it's a really interesting kind of example, a case study. I'm curious to see what they do, but I mean, yeah, Brooklyn to me is the top.
Yeah, it's gonna say.
I think Philadelphia is interesting. I mean, they're a very compelling team. When Joel, like you said, scoring 30+ points in 30 minutes, it's just crazy. And Tobias Harris can take over games. Ben Simmons is still, he's getting better and better every year. And then the pieces around them are guys who understand their role, and they have championships to their credit. Guys like Danny Green, guys like Dwight Howard, guys who understand how to give you valuable minutes for what you want. And to me, that's the part that we were questioning about with Brooklyn is, do guys understand all of their roles? Like Joe Harris understands his role. And that's why he's one of my favorite players in the NBA, because Joe Harris will give you everything that you need him to give you. And he's going to help you win. But he doesn't get outside of his role. And because of that, he's excellent. So Philadelphia has more of that than I think Brooklyn has. But like I said, it's just too early to tell for me. I need to see more data. But I think on the West, it's a little harder to kind of sort out. Phoenix is coming up. Utah's been at the top for a while. They've been king of the court for a while. And the Lakers are kind of sliding down. The Clippers are climbing up. What do you make of the West?
I'd probably, if you made me pick right now at the top, I'd probably still pick the Lakers, assuming LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy in the playoffs. It all starts as a top-heavy team, man. It all starts and ends there. With all due respect to Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder and anybody else you want in KCP, everybody else, that is a top-heavy team. And if those two guys are healthy, I'll take them. But I'll tell you the team I've watched the last week that's impressed me is Denver. Since the Aaron Gordon. Yeah. That starting 5 is plus 32.7 per 100. They are blowing teams' doors off. Now you've got Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., so you've got long athletic wings. You've got 5 guys who can shoot and cut off of Jokic's passing. You've got a better bench now. I don't know. I don't know, but to me, they are now in the contender mix. Watching them the last week since that trade, I'm like, you know what? I think they're that good.
Yeah, wow, that's an interesting pick. I mean, they've been on a rolling recently. Yeah, I think with Utah, for me, Utah reminds me of the old Utah teams, right? With Stockton and Malone, where you have an unbelievably efficient system. They're the best executing team, in my opinion, in the NBA.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm talking about talent can get you really far. I mean, execution plus talent is dangerous. And that's what San Antonio had, right? You had guys who could run the offense perfect, motion basketball perfect. And they were also Hall of Famers. So Utah, to me, is probably top 2. But the Lakers it's just hard for me to bet against the Lakers, particularly when AD will come back, hopefully fully rested. LeBron's coming back fully rested at the perfect time. And if we talk about Schroeder and Harrell, guys who understand their roles, like Caruso, who's just like Joe Harris to me, a guy who gives you valuable minutes. He's one of the best, in my personal opinion, role players in the NBA. I love Caruso. So it's just a hard, and in Gasol, I mean, it's just a hard team to bet against, particularly since I guess we all forgot that they won last year. That's like, it's like, I don't, so it's funny to me, but yeah, to me, those two teams, Utah and Los Angeles.
Yeah, I just don't trust the Clippers enough. I think Utah is absolutely a great pick. Like, they're in that mix. The Clippers look brilliant. They've won 6 out of 7, and then they lose to Orlando with Kawhi on the court. And I just don't know. I want to. That's the team where it's on paper. I mean, with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and all their role players, it should be special. But I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced there.